The modern medical practice is currently drowning in paperwork, with prior authorizations becoming an overwhelming daily administrative burden. On average, physicians and their staff are forced to complete nearly 40 of these requests every single week. This chart compares direct patient care to administrative tasks, showing that 13 hours per week are lost to the PA process. That equates to roughly 1.5 business days stolen from actual care coordination. And as the highlight shows, 31% of that time spent pushing paperwork results in an outright denial. The delays interrupt necessary care, leading roughly 80% of patients to abandon their recommended treatments entirely because they simply cannot navigate the hurdles. Practices spend countless hours jumping through bureaucratic hoops, only to lose uncompensated time and legitimate revenue to a system designed to induce fatigue. When a prior authorization gets denied, most practices view it as the end of the road. They either give up or submit a formal written appeal that takes weeks to process. What usually gets ignored is the peer-to-peer review window, a direct phone call between the prescriber and the reviewer to argue medical necessity. This pie chart illustrates the outcomes of appeal denials. As the large gold segment expands, you can see that a massive 81.7% of those decisions are fully or partially overturned. That figure indicates that the initial rejections aren't medically definitive. The vast majority of denied cases are perfectly valid and should have been approved the first time. Capturing recoverable revenue requires the prescriber to deliver a precise clinical argument and do it within a constantly shrinking payer deadline. A denied authorization is an active, winnable financial asset, provided the practice acts quickly and knows exactly how to fight for it. Most prescribers enter these critical peer-to-peer calls entirely cold, lacking the necessary time to review the patient chart beforehand. Payers frequently provide incredibly short notification windows to schedule these reviews, effectively stripping away the physician's ability to organize their clinical evidence. This grid represents payer-side reviewers. When the 16 specific avatars light up, it shows exactly how rare it is to get a reviewer with the appropriate specialty qualifications. The end result of this process is an ironic mismatch. An unprepared specialist finds themselves struggling to convince a generalist who is rigidly adhering to a strict payer policy document. Every unprepared call that drags on and ends in a sustained denial burns through expensive, highly compensated physician time. By relying on improvisation instead of a structured clinical defense, practices forfeit the inherent evidence advantage they hold over the payer. To consistently win these cases, practices must stop treating peer-to-peer calls as casual conversations and start treating them as structured, defensible clinical arguments. The initial step is moving denial intake to within 24 hours of receipt. You have to beat the shortening payer request windows before they expire. Before calling, the physician needs a customized one-page chart brief outlining the diagnosis, prior therapy timeline, and functional impairment data. Pairing that summary with exact specialty society citations gives the prescriber a solid evidence-based argument that the payer reviewer cannot easily dismiss. By scheduling a dedicated 30-minute prep session, ensures the prescriber focuses only on the 1 or 2 clinical arguments most likely to move the reviewer. Strict preparation workflow presents a massive operational challenge. It requires dedicated administrative labor that most practices simply do not have. This scale demonstrates the financial weight of the problem. That heavy block shows the fully loaded cost of a dedicated in-house coordinator running between $55,000 and $84,000 a year. The alternative is outsourcing to an AI-enabled service like Staffingly, which drops the weight to an agile $399 per week. Managed care administrative roles have seen nearly 40% wage growth over the last decade, turning the in-house staffing model into a compounding financial liability for independent practices. Outsourcing entirely bypasses the hiring friction, strips away the management overhead, and eliminates months of training. Practices must evaluate all their options carefully, absorbing a high-risk, expensive fixed cost, or deploying a low-friction, scalable service to plug the exact same revenue leak. The modern outsourced preparation process doesn't require moving files around. It initiates directly inside the practice's existing electronic medical record system via a secure, encrypted connection. This flowchart shows raw EMR data flowing into an AI node. The agent rapidly reads the complex charts, matches clinical data to payer policies, and splits the output into a narrative and a chart brief. Allowing artificial intelligence to handle the vast majority of the initial keystrokes and data parsing creates a massive efficiency gain, compressing hours of manual reading into seconds. An expert AAPC credentialed specialist then reviews the AI draft, applies any necessary clinical refinements, and fully verifies the final strategy. That human specialist then takes complete ownership of the process, scheduling the call and conducting the final 30-minute prep briefing with the physician. Pure automation lacks necessary oversight, and pure manual labor is far too slow. A hybrid model delivers both the clinical accuracy required to win and the rapid scale needed to keep up. This hybrid workflow operates with immense speed, maintaining a standard 4-hour turnaround time and offering a 2-hour capability for urgent preparation. Operating at that velocity directly neutralizes the common payer tactic of issuing extremely short request windows to force an automatic denial. This radar chart maps success rates across major payer categories. It visually demonstrates exactly where the practice's specific clinical arguments are securing the most overturns. Tracking those specific win rates by payer and service line builds a customized institutional knowledge base, ensuring every subsequent appeal is faster, sharper, and highly targeted. When a peer-to-peer call still ends in a rejection, the heavily prepped evidence pack allows the practice to seamlessly escalate to a formal written appeal without starting from scratch. This workflow recovers individual claims and builds a dataset that identifies exactly which clinical arguments win against specific payers. Practice leadership must decide whether to continue accepting unnecessary revenue loss or pivot to a proven operational system. Integrating this outsourced solution into an existing EMR requires a surprisingly rapid onboarding timeline, typically going live in just 5 to 10 days. Practices can start with a low-risk 2-week pilot program to evaluate throughput and prove the exact return on investment before making any long-term commitment. Over 800 provider practices currently utilize this exact operational framework to systematically recover denied claims. The entire integration aligns with strict security standards, maintaining full HIPAA, SOC 2 Type 2, and HITRUST CSF compliance for completely safe third-party access. Reclaiming thousands of dollars in lost revenue doesn't demand a massive capital investment in new staff. It just requires empowering your prescribers with the right preparation before they pick up the phone. Strict